If there's one thing that you want to do to show deadly confidence, then it's the way that you use your eyes, the way that you talk with your eyes, the way that you use eye contact. First, why does eye contact work so well? Well, you have to understand that eyes, as they say, are the window to the soul. It's the way that you know someone's paying attention to you. It's the way you know someone's connecting to you. Everything is done through your eyes. That is when you know you are officially making a connection. Imagine talking to somebody and you don't really want to be talking to them. Maybe you want to get out of the conversation. Maybe you're a little uncomfortable, a little annoyed. What do you do first? Well, besides leave, of course. You look away, you turn your body a little bit, you try not to make eye contact with them. Maybe you're walking through the streets and you see someone who's having some sort of mental breakdown, or you don't want to be having any sort of connection with them, you want to avoid them. What do? You look down, you look away. Why? Because you're avoiding eye contact. So if I haven't made this argument enough, eyes are what make the connection. So if you are really good at holding eye contact with a woman and doing it in a few specific ways, it's going to be powerful for you. Eye contact shows that you're paying attention. So if you're giving eye contact 90% plus of the time that you're talking to a woman, you're going to be showing her that you are very interested in having this conversation with her. Now, I know that a lot of the material I've talked about, maybe you've heard the fact that, oh, you want to act a little bit more mysterious when you're talking to a woman. You don't want to be showing too much interest. That is true, but not with eye contact. If anything, you can show disinterest. You can, play the push-pull game and flirt with her verbally. But when it comes down to connecting with her and seducing her and letting her know that you are super comfortable and confident in the conversation with her, that's where your eye contact comes in at, again, 90% plus of the time that you're talking to her. Here's one cool technique that you can do to make it to even up the seduction. It's called the triangle gaze. It's a triangle because what we're doing is we're looking from one eye to the other eye, down to the lips, down to the other eye. You're making a triangle and you're doing it with your eyes. That's why it's called the triangular gaze. You look in one eye, then the other eye, then down to the lips, then to the other eye, and then to the other eye. You can do that a few times really quickly, and you'll do that in conversation, not in the very beginning because that's going to be creepy, but more at a time when you guys are flirting a lot, connecting a lot, and you might be even at the point where you're about to kiss. That is going to be more seductive because you're looking at her in both her eyes and her lips, almost saying to her that you're interested in kissing her, interested in being more physical with her. Here's another great technique. When you're talking to a woman, when you're on a date with her, when you are doing a cold approach, you can be talking to her, and then in the middle of conversation, so this is more when you've already built rapport, you just stop talking altogether. But you're remaining having eye contact with her. So you're stopping talking, you're pausing, and you're still looking at her. This doesn't have to happen at a moment where you're in the middle of making a point. That would be strange. This is more in between the different topics of conversation. So you guys are talking for a little bit, and normally there's a lull in conversation. That happens all the time. So when there's a lull in conversation, you just stop talking, you look at her. Maybe you have a little bit of a grin on your face, a little bit of a smile. Maybe that lasts 5 seconds. Maybe it's 10 seconds. It's funny, that doesn't seem like a long time, right? 5 to 10 seconds is not a long time. However, it can be when there's a little bit of a pause. Good. We want that because that pause with the eye contact that you're holding builds more of that tension. And tension is what is going to be necessary in order to continue to seduce a woman, okay? And that builds a lot of tension. Now, I wouldn't be doing that for too long because she's going to be like, all right, this is a little awkward. But if it happens once, it happens twice in a conversation, that's totally normal, and it makes it a little bit more seductive. Now, what if you're a little bit nervous to talk to a woman and look her in the eyes? What if this is a little bit of a struggle for you? Now, I have a couple tips here. One, if you're that nervous, look her in one of the eyes. Why one and not both? If you look into one of her eyes, what's going to happen is it's going to be less nerve-wracking for you. Maybe not 100%, but a little bit. Sometimes it's really hard to look into both of her eyes. You're thinking too hard. But if you're looking at one of her eyes, it's going to appear to her as if you're looking at both. So that is a really good tip to make sure you're not as nervous when you're talking to her and you're not thinking too much. Now, a lot of guys are nervous to do this, and it's hard for them to even meet women in general. Just so you know, we do have a coaching program. You can check more on that at tripadvicecoaching.com. Book a free call with us. We can talk to you about how we can get you to have better eye contact with women, so we can get you approaching women, going on more dates, so you can actually practice more of this. I know a lot of guys are trying to utilize some of these videos, but they're not even meeting the women that they want. So we can help you over at tripadvicecoaching.com. Another really big point here is make sure when you're talking to a woman that you're not just holding eye contact when you are listening. I believe that it's much easier to do that because when you're talking to a woman, there's a little bit of multitasking going on. And a lot of people get a little bit nervous when they're talking, so they tend to look away or look down, or they just aren't really fully present with the person. And then on the other hand, when you're just listening, there's not much going on. Sometimes you're even tuning out because you're just looking in their eyes, making sure you're giving good eye contact. I've known that that is much easier to do. So you need to practice the harder thing and the more important thing, which is making sure that you're looking in her eyes while you're talking. If you're able to look into her eyes while you're flirting with her and while you're talking, if you're able to hold that type of eye contact for most of the conversation that you have with the woman, that is going to get you so much further. There is nothing like saying something flirty to her while looking in her eyes. Combine those two together, nonverbal and verbal cues here. That is the ultimate form of seduction, and it can be very powerful. So make sure to practice, and a good way to do that is by going to a mirror in your home and talking to the mirror, to yourself, and giving yourself eye contact while you're talking. Of course, the next best thing is to actually go out and talk to women while you're actually trying to get better at this. And no matter what, make sure you're holding eye contact, like I said, 90% of the time. Now, this is one way to turn a girl on. I have 5 other unusual ways to turn a woman on. There's a video here on the screen that you can click to learn how to build that seduction and attraction with the woman. And if you're still struggling with this on your own, then get a free call with us at tripadvicecoaching.com. Book that and click the link in the description to get that call so we can discuss with you how we can help you with meeting and attracting more women.